Good evening. Welcome to Defacto Review, our weekly in-depth analysis on the current news and affairs with our commentator and economist, Mr. Jargal Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'm your host, Namsrad Sindh. You can join in on our conversation on MNB World Facebook page and on Twitter with hashtag Jargal_Defacto. Now let's take a look at today's topics. 19 still looms. '20 election campaigns have started. Candidates and their income and asset disclosure. Now let's get into our first topic for today. The Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization are constantly reminding people that the threat of COVID-19 outbreak is still very real. Unfortunately, the outbreak prevention measures imposed by the government are all but forgotten and in some cases are being ignored by the public and state authorities now that the election campaigning has started. So our first question is that the National Emergency Commission has extended a heightened state of readiness until the end of June, the 30th of June. And the number of confirmed cases is still rising and have reached 190, all of which have been imported. So what could go wrong if people just keep losing vigilance like this? Majority of the people have just, dropped using masks now.
Well, it's a good question because due to election campaign and we tend to forget that we are still in the danger, in the epicenter, in the very danger of this pandemic. As of we speak today, total 193 cases in Mongolia discovered, and out of this 71 person have recovered completely and left home, and 108 person in a relatively light conditions, 14 person in heavier conditions, and 45 person are under their control. And total out of 193, 170 plus of them were imported from Russia, though consisting of students under 30 years old, and mostly they are imported from Russia. So that's still the situation. Still we have this danger. We have not yet lost the case inside of the country and have a tight control over those who are coming to the country in different special locations. But however, still we need to pay attention to that, and that's the situation now in the country.
So what decisions about COVID-19 was made by the government and National Emergency Commission this week?
Well, two major decisions are made. First is on May 27th, government made a special resolution number 188 on organizing and taking care of voters during the election campaign, and which election is going to happen on June 24th. We still have some more than 2 weeks. And this regulation was about how to organize safely all this election and how to take care of the sanitary conditions inside of the voting places. And there's a particularly strict regulations how far people to stand from each other, social distancing, and what happens if there is any cases, if any cases if happens, if we consider that is a dangerous case, etc. So that was the government decisions. And the second one is now so far Mongolian government have brought some 9,088 Mongolian citizens stuck due to coronavirus in different parts of the world, and this it makes Mongolia the second country in the world per capita to bring own citizens after Germany. If Germany have brought 0.28% of population back, equivalent of population, Mongolia has brought 0.27%, which makes the second before France. France is third, Russia is the fourth, etc. So Mongolia government keeps bringing on citizens back to the country, and as we speak now, the flight is now coming back from Australia, and only this June they will bring 2,000 Mongolian citizens, and we are expecting to have another 7 or so flights to Nur-Sultan, Tokyo, Delhi, Seoul, Frankfurt, and other 2 destinations they have to define further. So those who are brought like this by charter flights by Mongolian Airlines, they will stay separate for 21 days in quarantine, and their cost 50,000 tugruk per night per person will be paid, and will be paid beforehand to the account of the commission, and so that's the 2 most important measures taken by the government. And now even people say that maybe the government Mongolia had postponed coronavirus due to elections, which of course in reality not the case.
So do you think the quarantine measures will continue after June 30th? And can Mongolia keep on, extending this quarantine measure?
Most probably, yes, they will continue, because the situation in the world, around the world, are not that much going better as we expected. But however, the time will show. After election, I don't know, we may have a new government, but in spite of all this possible changes after elections, I don't think Mongolian government will weaker the measures against coronavirus. So most probably it may go longer, beyond the June 30th.
So can Mongolia keep on doing this? Do we have the capacity?
This is a separate issue. Politicians were taking all this because for elections, but after elections that issue may arise, because now the economy already for the first half of the year shrunk for 10%, and we keep losing jobs, so it is not easy questions.
I see. So let's get into our third topic for today. The election campaigning for the 2020 parliamentary elections officially started on June the 2nd. And according to the General Election Committee, there are a total of 606 candidates this year. So our first question is that how does this year's election differ compared to the previous 7 ones?
Well, first of all, I think more striking differences. We have 606 candidates from 13 political parties and 4 political coalitions, and 121 independent candidates. And 2 weeks ago there was about 200. It was about 200 independent candidates, and some 80 of them have delisted for this time. And now we have the largest amount of independent candidates. And at the last election, 2016, we had 69 independent candidates, and just 1 was singer Jargal was elected into the parliament. So, but however, the question is, we have now more political parties. The question is why this amount of political parties and candidates, independent candidates, keep increasing in this country. That's the question, and the reason is because the 2 major political parties, Democratic and People's Party, are not being enough strengthened as political institutions. Why? Because I found there are 3 reasons. One is the election method or structure, the way how we organize elections. Second is leadership of political parties. Third is in total citizens lost confidence in political parties. Let me explain just the first one is election format of Mongolia. We have, as we said, 7 times organized the political elections where the state power was smoothly handed over to next one, and out of the 7, 6 of them were organized as a majoritarian. Just one was a mixed majoritarian proportional. And this only one case of proportional election, mixed elections of 2012 was like at 48 seats were out of 76 were elected by majority and 28 by the proportional way, meaning that political parties put 28 seats, and they were putting the candidates themselves, which later on found by the Constitutional Court illegal, etc. So, but it was at the end of the election term, the political term. So, because for the strengthening of political institutions, a party as a political institutions, most convenient or the better convenient way is, of course, mixed form, a majoritarian, and also the proportional. But proportional list is to be with the live names of people, not like just political party names. So it should be open list. So that's the first difference, major difference. Secondly, still we need to have a good turn-in of voters, because last time the young voters and up to 35 years old were substantially less than before. Just half of those who can vote turned in, and but for the people above, for voters above 55 years old, almost 97% turned in. So in general, the decision for young people were made by senior people last time.
So has election campaigning changed in any way in the recent years, especially this year?
The political campaign, election campaign are changed. As as usual, before any election, it's 8th time, but before this time as well, a year before election or even less time, the election law was always kept changed in this country, which is not very good situation for our stronger democracy. So last December they changed it again, the law about the election, in which there are some positive signs as well. For example, if you see now, you walk around Ulaanbaatar city all around the country, you will see the photo, the picture of candidates all in the same size format. And there are so many of them that you have difficulty to make a difference in between them. All look good, all the very fancy clothes, etc. So very hard to make decisions in spite of their lighter, sharper names of political parties, their names, etc. But however, it was given the same format of the picture campaigning of the election. So all media, traditional media, have to report after just 10 days, within 10 days after elections, report how much the campaign job they were doing, how much they received money, and for whom it is done. It's for example, a new change in this campaign. There are several other changes, including, for example, the election. The candidate cannot promise to give any shares, or to be broker for jobs, etc. So this kind of promise are forbidden. It was forbidden before, but they kept doing in an indirect way before. And this time, if they do it, they will have a certain penalty.
So, as you said, people are having hard time choosing who to vote for. So, what should people look out for during, election campaigning?
You see, this year the election is going to be mostly via due to coronavirus, due to technology changes, people taste changes. It's going to be social media election. But in the social media, the source of information can be not only traditional media and these political parties themselves, but it can be you, an individual who has the social posting capacity. So there is a higher chance to have fake news, secret or wrong, false news, and one is to really make a difference in between them. The second issue is again, for this election is, again, as I said, young people voting percentage. If they don't increase, that are not increased, then it will be solved, or the vote was given by the other ranges of age population. So this probably two major things people to know for this election. And of course, lastly, this election is not, how you say this, show of Miss or Mr. Competition. So one thing is they look, the other thing is what is the content, what is the track record of their work for public, etc. So one is to know really deeper than the way they look, the candidates look.
So, as you mentioned, there are many independent candidates this year. So, if a majority of the parliament members are independent candidates, will this affect the decision-making of the government?
Well, as I said, because political parties are not getting strong as institutions, we have more candidates who believes that they can make change in the governance of the country. And it will be logical if there will be more independent candidates being elected to the parliament. In such cases, those independent, if there are many of them, to join one of even any political party who has at least one vote, they can join the political party to be more stronger in making decisions in the parliament. As in the parliamentarian democracy, the state power, the right is given not to an individual but to an institution, a political party. So in case of many candidates win the election, they need to be a part of a political party they to negotiate with, probably. And in that case, the strength of the government to be formed can be more fragile than if it is done by just one monolith political party. So that's the situation, and it is not new situation, and we will see that.
So would it affect positively or negatively to the government's continuation? Maybe?
In both ways. One positive, because we want to see the public is really tired of 30 years monopoly of these two political parties, which did not help in increasing, in developing the country substantially, or decreasing poverty, increasing jobs. So these Mongolian state power were not able to do so, and still we need to fight corruption. So in that case, new faces will be good. Change in that sense. Hopefully, at least they have not this track record of stealing. Bad because it not necessarily means newcomers are most experienced people. So it will take some time for them to to gain some experiences. But however, it is something that if their heart is good to serve the people, it is something that you can catch up very fast.
Okay, so let's get into our third topic for today. On June the 2nd, the Independent Authority Against Corruption released the income and asset disclosure of this year's parliamentary candidates. However, the IAAC announced that they are not obligated to analyze the income and asset disclosures, and they are only obligated to present them to the public. So our first question is, according to the amended election law, for the first time this year, income and asset disclosures must be presented by the candidates. So how important is this for the election?
Actually, all candidates were submitting their report on their asset and income since 2008 election. But only that time it was in the paper format, and it was collected by General Election Commission. And thus it was not possible for ordinary people to have access to those reports of incomes. However, again, December 20th of last year, there was a new election law which was requiring candidates to give their report of asset and income to anti-corruption agency, which is to receive that within a certain period and to transfer it to the General Election Commission. So first time in the digital format, anti-corruption agency had received all 607 candidates' income statement, and then after giving that to General Election Commission, they put it on their website, which made available for general public that income. That's why some people confuse that it is like it was the first time. It is, by the way, one of the few further steps to combat corruptions in the country, as transparency of the income is important for transparency of the governance, democratic governance in any country.
So upon reviewing these disclosures, many candidates have very high income. And people are interested, why are these people running for seats in the parliament during such times?
Yeah, because this report being online, people have gone through their report, the candidates' income statement, etc. They found out very interesting statistics. For example, now the media is classifying who is the highest income candidate. For example, Mrs. Batamdorjing Punsalma, who the family owns an oil importing company, and this woman has 85 billion Tugriks just cash income, money income last year. Her husband 83 billion, which is around $3 million a year income, which makes one of probably highest income person in the country, at least the candidate. And the people discuss about that, and as you said, why such rich people go to the parliament, etc. It's again, we are creating a democratic system, market economy. In the market economy, one can earn as much as she or he can, as soon as everything is by law. And looks like it's by law, since she's reporting as a legal statement. And it's good when Mongolians are becoming rich according to the law, following all the laws, legally, I mean. It's good because that's the market economy about, and it's good people to understand and support rich people who made themselves rich legally. Those who made themselves illegally rich, they should have been punished, which is not very much case in this country, and which, because that's why the people have sometimes negative impression about the people who makes money legally or illegally. So certainly illegally they don't deserve that respect, and they should be punished, as I said. But however, the growing understanding and impression is that the poor people cannot give you jobs. Only rich people can have a company and jobs, etc. So, so that when a person becomes rich, one is also to be protected. So that's the general feeling also in the country. There is a person who is ex-sumo famous wrestler Kukshuzan Batabayar, who declared he has 70 billion Tugrik worth real estate. I wish with that statement there should be a separate paragraph. I wish this anti-corruption agency do next time. Out of, if he has the 70 billion Tugrik worth real estate, the question should be, must be separate question, how much he had paid real estate tax, because many people in this country are not paying, and which creates a lot gray economy. That's one of the reasons why Mongolia is gray listed, by the way. So you can go many, for example, there are Mr. Narunghu from Dondrovi Aimgi electorate. He was, he has cars only 1.3 billion Tugrov worth, for example. Okay, how, not clear how he had made this money, but speculation is he was selling state land under the table with the that time city mayor. So this kind of furor, this declaration of all candidates' income had created in the society, and I think it is creating more questions than answers at this moment, but down the road there will be many issues related to transparency, corruption, payment of taxes, fairness of taxes, or fairness of values, because one person had declared he has a precious things, it looks like metals, maybe other expensive cultural subjects, maybe of 18 billion Tugrik worth, he says. So who is really estimating the true value of those? Because this kind of precious things worth requires kind of either auction or some market evaluation. In either way, it will be good for making the society more transparent and better.
So our final question, and according to the Independent Authority Against Corruption, they do not have the authority to prosecute anyone who presented false income and asset disclosures. Who does have that authority?
You see, it's first time coming as a document that is filled by the candidate itself, because they filled it online first. Secondly, there is no organ in the society, in a government that can check 606 persons' income statements truth. It's impossible. But what is possible is, this is the record. It is in database of anti-corruption agency. And out of 606, all the 76 will be inside of the governance in the state oral. Those 76 will be rechecked again, but the remaining will be staying as a database, which is good for civic society to compare next time if the candidate is running again, so that we see if even the next election candidate, if running second time, we know what is happening in between this with his or her income for last 4 years. In any case, I think it's good for transparency of the governance that we so much need in this country.
Okay, thank you for that. And unfortunately, that is all the time we had for today. We will see you next week with more topics.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.